Today is just turned July 4th, 2015. It's actually 12:03. I just want to touch briefly in a continuation of my last video where it said where I counted from 321 to 1581 as after Constantine changed the law to Sunday, day of rest, and then I wanted to add 434 years to that, which is 2015. 434 years is 62 weeks in the book of Daniel. But anyway, that's what I use. But now I want to talk about Revelation 12, the war in heaven, really quickly, where I get the why I think 434 years was correct. Might not be, but it said that after Michael threw down the dragon, and then number 12, it said, "Therefore rejoice, heaven, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time." A short time, to me, is within 70 weeks. So that's what I use. That's the reason why. Which basically just short time starting of the Gregorian calendar, which that's the changing of time, going along with changing the law, changing time and law. So I would propose that from 1581 to present day is the great deception this time. It was great apostasy, continue on along with great deception. So I got that over with. Now I want to talk about the prophecy of 70 weeks, and I am not even going to try to interpret this. I'm just going to basically let Sir Isaac Newton speak on it because he wrote a whole book about it. So 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks. That's the second coming, 7 weeks, 49 years. And three score and 2 weeks. That's for the first coming, which I'm going to let you see it for yourself when we go to Isaac Newton book. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous time. And after the 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off. That's the crucifixion, but not for himself. That's for us. Well, actually, let's just go here because he's going to go over all of it anyway. This book was published in 1733. So we're going to go down to chapter 10. Before we get there, I'm going to draw your attention to chapter 8, to change times and laws. The power 11th horn of Daniel, fourth beast. The 11th horn of Daniel's fourth beast, according to Newton, is the Catholic Church. It's different from other. Okay, chapter 10 of the prophecy of the 70 weeks. I'm going to read because I can't add anything to it. So, but let's start with, let's just start from the beginning. The vision of the image composed of the four metals, was given first to Nebuchadnezzar and then to Daniel in a dream, and Daniel began then to celebrate for a revealing of secrets. The vision of the four beasts and of the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven was also given to Daniel in a dream, that the ram and the he goat appeared to him in the daytime when he was by the bank of the river Ulai, and was explained to him by the prophetic angel Gabriel. It concerns the prince of the host, the prince of princes. And now in the first year of Darius the Mede over Babylon, the same prophetic angel appears to Daniel again and explains to him what is meant by the Son of Man, by the Prince of Hosts and the Prince of Princes. The prophecy of Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven relates to the second coming of Christ. That the Prince of the Hosts relates to his first coming, and this prophecy of the Messiah in explaining them relates to both comings and assigns the times thereof. This is the 1800s or 18th century language. So the prophecy, like all the rest of Daniel, consists of two parts: introductory prophecy and explanation thereof. The whole I thus translate and interpret. So he said, we went over a little bit of that, so I'm going to go down to yet 62 weeks shall in return and the street be built and the wall, but in troublesome time, and after the 62 weeks the anointed shall be cut off, and it shall not be his, but the people of the prince to come. I'm about to cry. Okay, reckon 490 years from the time that dispersed Jews shall be reincorporated into a people in the holy city until the death and resurrection of Christ, whereby transgression shall be finished and sins ended, iniquity be expiated, and everlasting righteousness brought in, and this vision be accomplished and the prophet consummated, that a prophet whom the Jews expected, and whereby the most holy shall be anointed, and who is therefore the next words called the anointed, that is the Messiah or the Christ. For by joining accomplishment of the vision with the expiation of sins, the 490 years are ended with the death of Christ. Now the dispersed Jews became people in the city when they first returned into polity or body politic, and this was in the 7th year of Artaxerxes Longissimus, when Ezra returned with the body of the Jews from captivity and revived the Jewish worship. That's when he counted. See, Newton counted from Ezra return to build the city of Jerusalem 433 years, which is 62 weeks. He said, where Ezra went up to Jerusalem was in the year of Julian period 4257. Count the time from thence to the death of Christ, and you will find it just 490 years. If you count it in Judaic year, commencing in autumn, and date the reckoning from the first autumn after Ezra's coming to Jerusalem, when he put the king's decree in execution, the death of Christ will fall on the year of the Julian period 4747, Anno Domini 34, and the weeks will be Judaic weeks, ending with sabbatical years, and this I take to be the truth. But if you had rather placed the death of Christ in the year before, as is commonly done, you may take the year of Ezra's journey into the reckoning, which is what we always used, 33 AD. But I'm going with him. He's the mathematician and an astrologist. So, and he studied this for 60 years, obsessively, in childlike wonder. He said, know also and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to cause to return and build Jerusalem unto the anointed the prince shall be 7 weeks. That's the second coming. The former part of the prophecy related to the first coming of Christ, being dated to his coming as a prophet. This being dated to his coming to be prince or king, seemed to relate to his second coming. There the prophet was consummate and the most holy anointed. Here he was anointed, comes to be prince and to reign. For Daniel's prophecies reach to the end of the world, and there is scarce a prophecy in the Old Testament concerning Christ which does not in something or other relate to his second coming. If diverse of the ancients, as these different names apply to half week of the times of the Antichrist, why may not we, by the same liberty of interpretation, apply the 7 weeks to the time when Antichrist shall be destroyed by the brightness of Christ's coming? Question mark. The Israelites in the days of the ancient prophets, when the 10 tribes were led into captivity, expected a double return, and that the Jews should build a new temple inferior to Solomon's until the time of that age shall be fulfilled, and afterwards they shall return from all places of their captivity and build Jerusalem and the temple gloriously, and to express the glory and excellence of this city. It is figuratively said to be built of precious stones. Now, while such a return from captivity was the expectation of Israel even before the times of Daniel, I know not why Daniel should omit this in his prophecy, this part of prophecy being therefore not yet fulfilled. I shall not attempt a particular interpretation of it, but content myself with observing that as the 70 and the 62 weeks were Jewish weeks, ending with sabbatical years, so the 7 weeks are the compass of a jubilee, and begin and end with actions proper for a jubilee, which is 49 years period, and the highest nature for which a jubilee can be kept, and that since the commandment to return and to build Jerusalem precedes the Messiah the Prince 49 years, it may perhaps come forth not from the Jews themselves, but from some other kingdom friendly to them, and precede their return from captivity and give occasion to it. Now, he wrote this in 17, well, it was published in 1733. This is prophetic. He said it wasn't because of the Jews. It is because another nation friendly to them. We'll go there next. I'll show you. And lastly, that this rebuilding of Jerusalem and the waste places of Judah is predicted in Micah and Amos and Ezekiel and Isaiah. And Mark Twain himself wrote that the land over there is wasted, like dead, when the Jews are not in it. And that the return from captivity and coming of Messiah and his kingdom, as described in Daniel 7, Revelation, what is that, 19, Acts 1, Matthew 24, Ezekiel, etc., and many other places of Scripture, the manner I know not, let time be the interpreter. And towards the bottom of the next paragraph, said, count now from this year 62 of years, that is 434 years, and the reckoning will end in September of the year of Julian period 4712, which is the year in which Christ was born, according to Clemens Alexandrinus and other ancients. And this was the general opinion until Dionysius invented the vulgar account in which Christ's birth is placed 2 years later. If with some of you reckon that Christ was born 3 or 4 years before the vulgar account, yet his birth will fall in the latter part of the last week, which is enough. How after these weeks Christ was cut off in the city and sanctuary destroyed by the Romans is well known. He was crucified. And of course, the vulgar account was the Gregorian calendar. Okay, yeah. Next, yet shall he confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. He kept it, notwithstanding his death, to the rejection of the Jews and calling of Cornelius and the Gentiles in the 7th year after his passion, 7 year after his crucifixion, I'm guessing. And in half a week he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease, that is, by the war of the Romans upon the Jews, which war, after some commotions, began in the 13th year of Nero, A.D. 67, in the spring, when the Vespasian with an army invaded them, and ended in the 2nd year of Vespasian, A.D. 70, in autumn, September 7th, when Titus took the city, having burnt the temple 27 days before, so that it lasted 3 years and half. And upon a wing of abomination he shall cause desolation, even unto consummation. Okay, the prophets, in representing kingdoms of beasts and birds, put their wing stretched out over any country for their army sent out to invade and rule over that country. Hence, a wing of abominations is an army of false gods. For the abomination is often put in scripture for a false god, as where Chemos is called the abomination of Moab, and Molech the abomination of Ammon. The meaning, therefore, is that the people of a prince to come, shall destroy the sanctuary and abolish the daily worship of the true God, and overspread the land with an army of false gods, and by setting up their dominion and worship cause desolation to the Jews until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. For Christ tells us that abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel was to be set up in the times of the Roman Empire. Matthew 24:15. So no, the abomination that causes desolation is not Barack Obama. It's not any human. It is the army of false gods, especially in the end of this Fibonacci sequence, where we're getting closer and closer to the end. It's going to be the real thing. It's no representation, no human being. It's going to be the abomination of desolation. No human being is gonna have that power. This is the real thing, folks, at the end of all things. Said, thus have we in this short prophecy a prediction of all the main periods relating to the coming of the Messiah, the time of his birth, that of his death, and of the rejection of the Jews, and the duration of the Jewish war, whereby he caused the city and sanctuary to be destroyed, and the time of his second coming. And so the interpretation here given is more full and complete and adequate to the design than if we should restrain it to his first coming only, as interpreters usually do. We avoid also the doing violence to the language of Daniel by taking the 7 weeks and 62 weeks for one number. Had that been Daniel's meaning, he would have said 60 and 9 weeks, and not 7 weeks and 62 weeks, a way of numbering used by no nation. In our way, the years are Jewish lunisolar years, as they ought to be, and the 70 weeks of years are Jewish weeks ending with the sabbatical years, which is very remarkable, for they end either with the year of the birth of Christ, 2 years before the vulgar account, or with the year of his death, or with the 7th year after it, all which are sabbatical years. Others either count by lunar year or by weeks are not Judaic, and which is worse, they ground the interpretation on erroneous chronology, accepting the opinion of Funcius about the 70 weeks, which is the same with ours. For the place Ezra and Nehemiah in the reign of Artaxerxes, and the building of the temple in the reign of Darius Northus, the date the weeks of Daniel from those two reigns. And the rest of the chapter is basically he's laying down the timeline for us. So you can go and read it for yourself or pause this. So the Balfour Declaration, dated to November 1917, was a letter from the United Kingdom Foreign Secretary Arthur James Balfour to Walter Rothschild, second Baron Rothschild, leader of British Jewish community, the Zionist Federation of Great Britain and Ireland. His Majesty government viewed with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. Okay, so forget the Palestinian, we just take their land. Um, is the Rothschild Israel. So the text was published 9 November 1917. The Israeli Declaration of Independence, that's 14 May 1948. That's basically the executive head of the World Zionist Organization and chairman of Jewish Agency for Palestine. So basically, just put these other people in tents, and this is we're gonna just take your land. Uh, that's not what Jesus would do. What would Jesus do? Jesus wouldn't do this. Okay, well, after World War One, the United Kingdom was giving mandate for Palestine, which is the Balfour Declaration, which it had conquered from the Ottomans during the war. 1937, the Peel Commission. Well, anyway, on 29 November 1947, the resolution recommended to the United Kingdom as mandatory power for Palestine and to all other, whatever, um, independent Arab and Jewish states, and the special international regime for the city of Jerusalem shall come into existence in Palestine 2 months after the evacuation of armed forces, so mandatory power has been completed, but in any case not later than 1 October 1948. Uh, I just don't think it's fair. I'm I don't belong to any religion or any denomination per se. I I follow the word of God. So, and I still don't think this is fair. 6 Day War. Now this is has to be with the power of God, because they shouldn't even win this war. When you look at this, so the belligerents, one side you have Israel, and they were surrounded by how many countries? Let me see. Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, and Lebanon. That's 5. Algeria, Kuwait, Libya, Morocco, Pakistan, PLO, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Tunisia. That's 14 altogether. So were they or were they not surrounded? They were surrounded. This, by the power of God in 6 days, it's a decisive victory. Strength. Israel have 50,000 troops, 214 reserves, 300 combat aircraft, 80 tanks, total troops 264,000, 100,000 deployed. On the other side, you have 240,000 Egyptian, 300,000 Syrian, Jordanian, and Iraqi, 957 combat aircraft. Anyway, total troop 547,000, 240,000 deployed. The casualties and losses, 776 to 983 killed, less than 1,000, 4,517 wounded, 15 captured. On the other side, you have 10,000 to 15,000 Egyptian killed or missing, about 4,000 captured. Jordan 6,000 killed or missing, 533 captured. Syria, 2,500 killed Oh, wow. So let's do math of all the dates that we saw. So 49, that's a Jubilee. The first date that we saw was 1917, 2 November, which comes to 1966. So that's 40 Jubilee plus 6, 1960 plus 6, and then you add 7 to it, it's 1967. So that's my timeline. See, 1967 plus 49 is 2016. But if you count from 1966, it's 2015. So in the, like Isaac Newton said, add 7 years to the end. And earlier when we read it. So 1947, let's try that date. Plus 49, 1996. That doesn't make any sense to me. So a lot of people count from that. Even plus 1 for 1997, I guess. So anyway, that doesn't make any sense. So 1917, let's do that one again. Plus 49 is 1966. Plus 7 is 1973. They built the World Trade Center that year. Well, they opened it that year. So you keep going. Plus 7, plus 7, 2001. That was when the World Trade Center came down 28 years later. Plus 7 is 2008. Plus 7 is 2015. Now in 2008, that's when that world stock market crashed down to 777 points. It's so weird, all these numbers. Okay, 2015 plus 7 is 2022. So we believe this is the 70th week, which is the last 7 years. Then it would start on this timeline in 2015. So that's 56. So if you count Jubilee, it's not 56 years, 49 years. So it actually, the Jubilee, the extra Jubilee ended 2015. So we'll go back to 1917 again, and let's add this generation. A generation is 70 years. So it said the generation shall not come to pass until all these things be fulfilled. So you know what? We already passed 1987, so that's not the right date. 1947 plus 70 in 2017. It just doesn't look right to me. What's 2017? But it can be. It's between 2015 and 2017, I guess. So 1967 plus 70 years is 2037. So it could be before 2037, everything should be concluded, consummated. Everything's done. So this is all other people math. My math that I proposed with that number 40 is 40 Jubilees. The waiting time period for God's judgment. So that's 1,960 years. 40 times 49. So I'm going to add one more Jubilee to it. Well, I'm just going to go by 7 because the time's moving faster and faster. So 1967, we just saw what happened. Plus 7 is 1974. Plus 7, plus 7, 1988. Why did I do that? But I'm starting over. Oh, yeah, I see. Okay, 1960 plus 33, which is the year of crucifixion. or 1994. I'm going to add 7 to it. It's 2001. 7, 2008. It's the same number that we went through earlier. So it would seem to me, the Bible said you only need what? You need 2 to 3 witnesses to make something true. It would seem to me everything seems to converge around 2015, 2016, 2017. With Sir Isaac Newton math, actually I'll show in the next video probably with the Charlemagne. But it seems to me that my math, my proposed 40 Jubilees waiting period until God's judgment from the year of crucifixion, either 33 AD or 34 AD, it comes to 2015. So, anyway, God bless you.